1911 review, Nutnfancy project. Thanks for sticking around. Get this. You can still go out and buy this 1911 today. I say it that way because it is the older style of Smith and Wesson 1911, not the E Series. And it is still carried in their catalog along with two other SKU numbers. This is SKU number 178011, the star of the show. It is an amazing 1911, highly recommended. I love it. It is my personal gun, and I've been holding off on the review for about 10 years. Well, not that long, 8 years, because I bought this in 2010, SKU 178011. And remarkably, you can still go out and buy it. Why is that? I mean, their whole 1911 catalog has transitioned over to the E Series with the so-called, and I'll explain what I mean by that, improvements over the older style Smith & Wesson 1911, like these two. This is a 1911 PD scandium frame, and this is SKU number 108293, previously reviewed, probably about 7 years ago. The answer is why you can still get this 1911 is due to California. Believe it or not, California. So it is one of the 1911s that many years ago Smith & Wesson submitted to California DOJ, and it got on the list of approved 1911s to be sold in the great state of California. I say it that way because I love and hate California at once. I love its geography, its access to the Pacific Ocean, its beauty. I don't like its politics, especially its gun politics and its attack on freedom continually year after year. I'll end my rant there. We will probably have about 1,000 comments right now from guys who live in California who have had to put up with the garbage from California gun laws. I am so sorry, guys. Living behind the golden curtain. Kind of like the USSR Iron Curtain. So sorry. Enough of that, though. We're going to concentrate on the gun. It is excellent, and yes, you can still go out and buy it, and yes, it is recommended. SKU number 178011. Now, it is a Performance Center 1911. Again, possessing the features of the original versions of 1911s that were introduced around 2003, I think. Now, I did mention the E Series, and I did say the so-called improvements. Don't get me wrong, I think the E Series are great 1911s. I really do. I wouldn't hesitate for a moment buying one. I have shot them. I've been very happy with them. But were the improvements actually necessary over this version? The answer is no. I don't think so. So why did Smith & Wesson do it? Why did they spend the money in changing their 1911, which is a pretty remarkable design, very competitive in the market, says me? The answer is marketing. That's why they do it. They want to freshen the product line, and all companies do this, because if they don't, their guns kind of get lost in the fray. They get lost in the gun counter, and people stop talking about them. They stop getting press, kind of like what I'm providing right now, although this is on an older 1911. That's why. It's marketing. Let's just be honest. Now, granted, there were some improvements, and maybe some guys will say, hey, the E Series is a superior 1911 because of, for instance, the deletion of the Swartz type firing pin block, or maybe some other thing that they didn't like in this version. And maybe they have a point. I don't know. I'm not the end-all 1911 expert. But I will say, having shot thousands of rounds through the original Smith & Wesson 1911s, this one and another SKU I'm going to show you, I never found them lacking in any regard. Not in ergonomics, not in reliability. There are some quirks. They're not perfect. Trust me, I'll cover those on 178011. This gun right here. They're there. It's not total perfection, but overall it's a great gun. But they freshened it for marketing. So people start talking about it. So there is a perceived reality that the gun has been improved, and people put it on their radar, and it competes against other 1911 designs. There's your answer. Says me. The E Series put on some fish scallops on the slide. They milled grooves in the top of the slide, kind of like the revolvers. They have a flatter front strap on it, although this one is a standard front strap on this PD. They have a Jubert trigger system. They have a bigger extractor on the E Series and a large port, titanium firing pin, and a heavier spring is the safety system on the E Series, if I'm getting my details right. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. However, like I said, these guns weren't lacking. Now I have to say that because guys who will watch this video, which is going to be a newer video, may say, well, you know, which one should I buy? I say buy the one that turns you on, that makes you happy. So there's going to be some flavors of E Series in the 1911 lineup at Smith that you might like better. Grips, finishes, maybe you like the bobbed grip of some of the E Series. I think the commander sized ones have that, and I have shot that and they're good. I've shot them, I had a good time. I think Matt came out one year and we shot those, and they're good guns. Like I said, I wouldn't hesitate buying them, nor would I hesitate buying this. So that's why I intro that way. You might want to go click on and watch my 1911 philosophy of use video. I will put it in card somewhere along the way in this GRV. Now a card just shows like an eye at the top right of the screen. That's the way YouTube's doing it now. You click on it and you can go watch the video. So there's really no need for me to go into philosophy of use too much here. Granted, it's been about 7 years since I've reviewed a 1911. It's been a while. But one thing I do say in the video that I'll repeat here is I really don't use 1911s as go-to-war guns for myself. They're not integrated into my system as a GTW handgun. They never have been, never will be. They're too darn heavy. Granted, this one's lighter. But they're firepower limited. They are a condition 1 gun. I don't prefer that. I've said it. Go again, please, and watch that video. Incidentally, I said this in some other videos. I'm going to repeat it because maybe you didn't see the other videos. I have loaded up in the YouTube stream of consciousness for the Nutnfancy project, usually about 5 videos ahead of when they're released. I will release those early to my Patreon members. So when this video releases and you like the first person to go comment and you see comments from like 7 days ago, those are TMP Patreon members. They had access to the video a long time ago. I put it in unlisted category and then guys can come and comment. And then usually I'll take a Patreon comment, pin it to the top, one that I think captures the tone and the theme for the video review. So there you go. Thanks to my TMP Patreon members. If you feel so inclined, join. If you don't, I still love you. Thanks for watching this video and subscribing. Enough said on that. Philosophy of use, therefore, will be contained in that video. And now we go to features of the Pro Series Smith and Wesson 1911. I've shot this gun a lot. It falls into the category shot way too much for the review. Probably through this gun, I have... I'll ballpark it. I don't keep a log, but I bet you I got 1,000 rounds through it. Through the last 8 years, not 10, 8 years. That's a lot, dudes. And I had a great time with it, and it kind of exceeded the point where I was shooting it for testing. I was just like, okay, I'm just shooting it for fun. I really enjoy shooting 1911s. Really do. I mean, I've said that in a lot of GRVs. I'm like, if I'm going to have a range toy and just go out and play and have fun, I'll take a 1911, thank you. I can hit with them good. They just point so naturally. I think their recoil, even in 45 ACP, is extremely manageable. They are just fun. Fun guns to shoot. So yeah, I got a little carried away. About 1,000 rounds, give or take. 100 maybe. There are some other California SKUs that are being sold. I don't know if I have them all down. I think another one is 178017. It is a Pro Series 1911. That one has a full-length guide rod, also an external extractor. Extended magazine well is attached to that particular gun, probably focused for competition a little bit. And it has a stoned hammer and sear on that one. The Pro Series, well, this one, I don't think this has a stone trigger on it. I could be wrong on that. This is a performance one. Even though it does say Pro Series, it is a Performance Series 1911, better said, if I'm not mistaken. But this never had any trigger work done on it. I never had a Smith do it. I didn't do any work on it. And we're going to start off features with the pull of this gun, which to me is really the heart and soul of a 1911, is it not? I think it is. The trigger snobs will come out for 1911s as they should. If a trigger isn't right on a 1911, then, well, maybe we keep looking for a different one that suits us. I haven't pulled this. I'll guess it's not super light. I'll say 5.5 pounds. Oh, dude. I didn't do that before. I totally got it. 5.5 pounds. It was. I did not make that up. I didn't practice beforehand. It's so good, actually, the trigger on this gun, is that I don't want to do any trigger work on it. I mean, I take it out and I shoot it, and I don't say to myself, oh, this needs some trigger work on it. I never do. It's just crisp, clean, minimal take-up. There is a discussion about how in the E series they minimize this vertical play in the trigger right here, the skeletonized aluminum trigger, and I can see why guys maybe wouldn't like that. Maybe that would be a reason why you'd go with an E series. And as I handle it on the table, see this movement here? That's a little obnoxious, but I never notice it in the field. I never gone, oh man, that trigger's wiggling all over the place. I don't think you would either. Maybe a high rounds count competitor like Rob Latham would. Not me. I'm not good enough, and I don't shoot it that much so where I would notice it. But I'm very happy with the trigger on the 178011. It's never going to change, and I don't really anticipate me ever selling this gun. But now it's retailing for $1,460. That's if you can find it. Something tells me it's going to be a hard gun to find, because a lot of people probably don't consider it. They think of it as an older 1911 from Smith and Wesson, great for California gun, but for me, I want something more advanced. The theme for this video is it's plenty good, plenty 1911 for most users. That's what I'd say. So the two-tone look of this gun is very good looking. I have done modifications in the looks department, in the grips department over the years. Right now it's wearing some FDE ergo grips. I like these better than the Rocco walnut grips, which are highly stippled and actually pretty nice looking because they're thinner. So the 178011, I like this dimension. The Rocco grip stuck way out, and that with a protruding 30 lines per inch front strap. Look at that, how it's milled. It's actually milled on a protruding stanchion right here. So this actually has a slightly longer dimension in width, this particular 1911 grip. So I have large size hands, it works for me. But it's different than, for instance, this one. It's stablemate. See, that's a flat front strap with vertical serrations on it. I'd much rather have 30 lines per inch like this for traction. When I first started shooting it, I will tell you it took me getting used to it because it's a lot of grip. And if you're shooting with bare hands, maybe it kind of, grates your skin a little bit. But I'm almost always wearing these, and I like it. I've gotten to the point where I really like it, and I don't mind the extra dimension on the front strap. The mainspring housing is pretty standard check ring. You can swap that out if you don't like it. So what I have now is good front and back check ring, and I have the ergo grips, which are awesome. Good, they're synthetic and they don't add width to the dimension. For me and my hand size, that's a great grip. And we're talking about looks, it's a really good look. So I like the stainless steel slide, I like the black frame, I like the FD grips. And we're talking second cool there, which is important. Very important. You want to be excited how your gun looks. Notice I've never Duracoated it, nor will I ever, because I like the looks. There's no need to. Same with this one. This is all tactical black. This one, SKU number 108293, 1911 PD. I'm not going to change this one either. It's nice. And also, if I did change my mind and said, well, I do want to sell these as a normal gun owner, and you sell those, you might want to just leave them the way they came from the factory. They'll retain their value better as opposed to you modifying them, because then guys will go, well, maybe he doesn't like your coloration you chose. Maybe it's a tan that he hates. And then also the question arises, did the guy do it right? So if I bought a Duracoated or Cerakoted gun from somebody, I'd be really wondering if he knew what he was doing. Did he coat the internals? Am I going to have reliability problems? All of which are a distinct possibility. Distinct. By the way, the knife on the table is the Rhino discontinued. Awesome tactical blade from Cold Steel. Reviewed about, I don't know, 9 years ago. Deserves a place there. We have a Victorinox officer's watch. I bought this for the project and for review about 2 years ago. Since then, it's gone up about $70 in price. Still a great watch. Only 9 millimeters in thickness, waterproof to 100 meters. Nice, classy leather strap on that. Kind of goes along with the 1911 theme. And there you go. And then the watch for the review is the Casio, actually, MTD 320. Very affordable and very good looking. Love it. Out of genre mini reviews. There you go. Dudes, I still have my wood plank, by the way. I'm going to use this a lot. I like totally found it in a field. Threw some stain on it. It's like my presentation wood piece now. I like it. Other features of this particular 1911. It's going to echo. These two are the same. They've got front strap serrations on the front of the slide. I never use those. Rear strap. These are just fine. Again, in the E Series, they went for deeper, they call them fish scales, scallops, something like that. I actually don't like the way those look. They do provide more traction, however, if you care. Target crown, I think in this one, 178011. And no pick rail on either. On this one, there is one on the PD. But for a ranged toy and a ranged gun, like I use this gun for, I don't care. I always say for home defense, you should have a Picatinny rail. You should have a way to mount a light, maybe a light laser combination for target identification and intimidation. Talking about the laser portion there. Standard 1911 trigger guard. I can rest my finger on it. It is small if you wear winter gloves. Voice of experience. And we did shoot this in the snow quite a bit. I might have to dig through several hard drives to find that footage. I think I still have it. I hope I do. I think it was Crockett and I going out and shooting this, and we had a good time. I get it confused. There's another SKU I'm going to show you before the video ends. It might have been that other one. I forget. Standard magazine release. I love 1911 magazine releases. It's easily accessible, non-obnoxious, but you're stuck with it on this side. So if you're a lefty, you may not like it so much. This is a righty setup gun. Standard slide release a la 1911. These are MIM'd parts, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we all know that MIM'd parts do just fine. What I've always said, forged versus MIM'd parts, especially in a 1911, well, for any gun, is that you can make an argument for second cool you like forged better. But as far as performance goes, I think MIM'd parts perform well. As long as they are made correctly, and these, according to my rounds count, haven't failed, they're made just fine. This is a very important aspect to 1911s for me, and it is the positiveness in which the safety will remain on. This is medium. I wish it were hard. It is a minor criticism. By hard, I mean I would like this spring and this plunger, safety plunger, to really prevent this safety from snicking off. It's medium. It's not awful. I think the 1911 PD is a little bit worse. And that I remember this one will snick off just a little bit more readily. But it is an issue with me. I can't lie. I want it to be super positive. I haven't smithed this myself and taken the gun apart and put a stronger spring in there. I probably could. But honestly, it's not big enough of an issue where I need it. I just don't care. Low profile safety. It is ambidextrous. So even though it is lefty, I said for the controls and the magazine release, you do have a safety over here, a la Jardine if you wanted it. I find when I shoot 1911s, I have to be very careful that I don't do this. And maybe I have some footage that you'll see where I actually did that. I put the safety on. I'm to the point now I just kind of ride the safety like that. And it's kind of an unnatural thing to do because I want to bring my thumb lower like that. Maybe your technique is different, but be careful you don't snick that up. This kind of gets to why it's not a GTW handgun for me. It's more complexity than I need. It's an old-fashioned system. For the range, awesome. Recreation, awesome. For any other purpose, I ain't messing with it. That's just me. Standard commander hammer, ring hammer there. Awesome, don't need to change that. Beaver tail safety, no change in that. One thing I like about this version over the E Series is the E Series has a more pronounced beaver tail, I think, on it, and I prefer this one. I like a very subdued beaver tail on my hammer safety. I'm sorry, my grip safety. I prefer that a lot better. And in a 1911 and in XDs by Springfield, I'll put up with a grip safety. other than that, I pretty much hate it. You may be the same way. Little bit of funneling in the magazine well here. I think these are original screws I attached these grips with. This has a GI recoil rod in it, therefore it's not a full-length recoil rod. No big deal on that, really. I don't have a problem with that. They've pretty much said there's no difference in accuracy between the two types, but like I said, that SKU 1780117, they did put a full length in there. Why did they do that? Well, perhaps because, again, there is a perceived thing out there where it would be more reliable. This still has an external extractor on it, right there. Again, on the E Series, it is enlarged, and I think they enlarged the ejection port even more. Novak fiber optic sights, I love them. I've never replaced them, nor will I ever. These ones have proven to be pretty durable too. One of the criticisms I've said in some other reviews is that this front light pipe through heavy use can break out. I will stick with that. It still can, because it's not a solid metal sight. You have a, well, plastic light pipe right here. And you can snap that out. Probably will happen, Murphy's Law, at the worst possible moment. This gun, I think, being a Pro Series gun, or I should say a Performance Center gun, has a focus, again, on some competition. It's not really an all-out competition 1911. I'm not saying that. But that's why it has the sights that it has. And for what I use it for, again, I've said it, they work perfectly for me. The weight is substantial. It's a steel frame 1911. I weigh, with a magazine, 39.5 ounces. On Smith and Wesson's website, they're saying 41 ounces. Who cares when it's a steel frame 1911? It's just heavy. And for the philosophies of use I discussed, recreational, range, competition, goofing around, training, that's a good weight. This gun is easier to shoot than that gun with the weight difference. And this weighs, I think, like 4 to 6 ounces lighter. You would think it'd be more. It's really not. Maybe around 32, 33 ounces. The Smith & Wesson 1911 PD. Magazines are... I don't have the Smith & Wesson magazines. This is a Mekar. And then I have a Wilson Combat right here. I have all types of different 1911 mags. But they're Smith & Wesson mags, and I don't know if this one has it. This might be one in here. Yeah, this is it. It looks almost like a Mekar. That's why I get them confused. So they're good. They're 8-round magazines. I've never had a problem with it. I've never had any base plate failures with it. They are pretty awesome. So that is a standard magazine. I've used the Mekars with great success. It's right in here now. I did Cerakote, or actually Duracoat the base plate of that one. And then, interestingly, and I love this gun and all the Smith & Wesson 1911s I've ever shot will run great with 10-rounders. So these are Kimber 10-round 1911 45 ACP magazines. You'll see me shooting this a lot because it just minimizes our reloads and our drills. Yeah, so these are great. If you don't have Kimber 1911 mags, if you train like I do or get out there with 10 rounds, again, minimizing loading, you probably ought to get some. They're cool. I think that is most of the features. They're pretty basic 1911 features. Not much to say about it. I mean, there's so much similarities between the models and manufacturers, and most of them are good. I have shot a lot of 1911s that have had more problems than this, though. I.e., these were almost all reliable. I think through shooting the 1911 PD, had some jams here and there, not many. Through shooting this, fewer jams, a couple, but very, very few. It seems like this was even more reliable. If I were to use it for defensive purposes, would I trust my life to this gun or that gun? Yeah, I would. I would run, like we always say, probably 100 rounds of your defensive load through it. Just pay the money, and then if it doesn't hiccup, you're probably good to go. With a 1911, you want to keep it lubricated and well taken care of. You want to shoot it, in my opinion, quite a bit to have the parts seat in a 1911. So John Moses Browning knew what he was doing when he put the gun together, but wear it in. How those parts mate very well. It's not a modern handgun design like a Glock, like an H&K, like a Walther. It's not. So those guns, I honestly believe you can bring out of the box and they're good to go. 1911, shoot it a lot and get those parts seated, and then you're ready to go. If you put it into a serious application. How did it shoot? I talked about how fun it was to shoot. I have been showing you video of the process shooting the excellent Smith and Wesson 178-011. And maybe I'll throw in some footage of some other ones too. E Series, Smith and Wesson 1911 PD along the way too. It's great, great fun. And accuracy is phenomenal. I would call it match grade accuracy. So this is a target from freaking 2011. Look at that.
Nice, good little 40.
It's the same gun you're looking at. And that's shooting the Blazer aluminum 230 grain. Wish they still made that round. I love it. I never had problems with Blazer ammo. There's a group right there. There's a bunch more paper I had, and I think I have lost it over the last 8 years, but I went out and shot this a couple months ago. So this is at, I'm looking at my distance, 10 yards. So this is even further. Good group, really good group, excellent group. This is all Federal 230 grain jacketed hollow point. Good group. Not so good, but again, that's 10 yards. If you can get in the orange at 10 yards, standing, unsupported, that's pretty good. This is amazing. This is what the accuracy I'm talking about. Standing, and somewhere along the way, I'll show you the video of me shooting it. And that's still in the orange. I gave it a squiggly mark, but still decent. So I would say outstanding accuracy, no big surprise. All the Smith & Wesson 1911s I've shot have done that. They're very well put together. They have great quality barrels. I think accuracy always drives to barrel quality. And I forgot to mention that. They actually have polished feed ramps in these performance centers. That's another thing they do. It's kind of dirty and you can't really see down in there, but it is polished somewhere along there.
Love it. Love it.
And reliable with every load tried. Again, like I said, it's been a long time since I shot it. I'm sure I had a stoppage here and there, but I shot a fair amount of jacketed hollow points through it and I didn't have a problem. Same with that one. This one seemed like I had just a couple more jams over the years. But it is a 1911. Insert philosophy of use discussion right there. Go watch that video, dudes. How does it shoot? Amazing. And then we'll end the video. Would I buy it? Absolutely I would. And I have already talked philosophically over buying this older California SKU 1911 over the E Series. Really, you can't go wrong with either one. Buy the style you like, the style that connects with you in terms of second cool. Let's be honest, that's what it's all about. That's totally what it's about. As far as functionality, first cool, they're both excellent. Maybe you like the upgraded features of the E Series. I'm not going to say they're not good, but again, this was not a broken design. It wasn't, from my own testing. It's more that they wanted to freshen the design. The other SKU I was going to show you that I reviewed separately, actually, and I'm so glad I'm finally getting this done because I wanted to do a trifecta of Smith & Wesson 1911s because years ago in TMP, I was thinking, well, these were, not, I wouldn't say super affordable 1911s, but they're kind of mid-market 1911s, and that's why we went out and spent ad money on them because it was a good way to throw that out to the viewers. Hey, this is a really good 1911 that may perform to the level of a $5,000 or even $6,000 custom 1911. And the other one I reviewed was the 108-303 stainless steel rail wearing a Kimber 10-round mag. This is a favorite of mine in our drills, and this is a heavy gun, has a rail on it so we can do night runs with it. With 10 rounds, it's 10+1. This has really good looking grips on it in this version. I haven't changed it at all. Nor will I. I'm not Cerakoting this one either. This is a magical gun for me. Actually, all three of these are. This one particularly is magical for me in that I can just hit crazy with it. I don't know what it is. Like in the Eat Lead drill, I'm shooting like an 8-inch plate out at 50 yards and hitting probably 80% of the time with whatever load you want. I think this SKU has been discontinued. It's no longer available. I don't think this was a California DOJ submitted design. Just kind of showing it to you to complete the trifecta. Now, it's a lot of money. All these guns are a lot of money, but 1911 guys spend a lot more than these. You know this. They're spending, again, thousands of dollars on one gun, and then maybe they get a 1911 and they spend even more on customizing it and putting in forged parts, getting the trigger just so. Maybe they spend $500 on just getting the trigger right. I think if you're a competitor and you're shooting in whatever class you want, maybe that money's well spent. Again, because we're talking philosophy of use, microseconds, win or lose a match, it might help for someone who shoots and has a super high skill level, like I mentioned earlier. Totally excellent gun, Smith and Wesson 178011. Strangely, we thank California in some way for the continuing sale of this gun in the Smith and Wesson product line. Nutnfancy.
I feel it challenges me to put myself in a situation